Today I'm going to show you how I tried to turn an old cable reel into a wishing well. Can I do it? I've no idea how it's going to work out yet. You'll just have to follow along. I start by holding some cut up pallet pieces and overlap them on the reel's curved edge so I can use that as a template and draw around it before taking it to the bandsaw to cut out. A jigsaw and clamps are absolutely fine. So I've cut 5 sort of half circles. What I've done is got one right on the edge, then overlap them so I can draw and make a series of cuts, and then it will fit together. But number them before you dismantle. I put them in order, clamped and nailed them down. And repeated the same thing for the opposite side. Before I continue, I sand any protruding joints smooth with the world's heaviest belt sander. It's starting to look like a solid cable reel, but now I need to clad it all the way around. Apart from, we're going to put some arms for the roof. I made sure that my 2 structural arms were dead centre on both sides and left spaces to nail around them, as I need them to be accessible to cut lap panel notches out later. When you get to the last one, you might be slightly out. But everybody needs a talking point around the garden furniture. I'm now working on creating an opening for the well and did my best drawing a circle with a combination square. And this was easier said than done because each slat had a flat edge. And cut it out with a jigsaw and the inner tubular section. Then mallet out the rods a little bit so I can easily cut them with an angle grinder and remove. I think that's looking quite well. Let's work on the roof and do some lap panels. I mark out the width of the arms, which is dead centre of 2 shorter roof frame pieces, and cut out notches inside the pencil lines on both of them and halfway down. 11.5 inches down. So now I'm going to cut the same notch on the arm pieces. To give a pointy roof, I temporarily slotted them together and hold another piece angled on top and draw from underneath where the cross pieces fall. And another line on the top central piece, which also has a central line for the apex reference. But I also had to draw an additional half thickness of the structural timber I'm using, then cross out my previous top mark, because if we cut a mitre on that, it'll be too short. You'll see in a minute. And you'll need 4 of those cuts. So now I've cut one side of the apex. I'm going to put this on the other side, make it symmetrical, draw a line there, and then I can cut a V at the top. I'll be cutting this bit. Oh. Now I could glue and screw my 2 lap panels together. Let's work on the apex! To fix the angle pieces together, I glue and put a nail in each join with a nail gun first, so it's easier for me to handle while drilling and screwing it all together, but at home I'd normally just use clamps. I slot them back in the gaps and drill and screw them to the base. I hold another piece along the bottom and mark and cut 3 pieces to this same length before clamping them between the 2 at the top and screwing together. As the woodyard is inundated with tongue and groove offcuts, they make sheds all day, I use these for the roof and nail them down with about 1.5 inch overhang. For the wishing well's turning handle, I then drill a hole with a flat wood drill bit that's slightly bigger than the broom handle I'm using, with a customer overlooking my work. But on the other side, I drill a pilot hole all the way through for 1 single screw, and then a recess by about 1/2 inch for the broomstick to slot in. And I let it protrude about 2 inches before cutting it down. For the spinning mechanism, I drill another broom recess in a small offcut before slotting it in and screwing it together. Then another small piece for the handle, but don't screw that too tight together as it needs to spin while you're cranking it. I could then put the handle in place and a single screw on the recess side. Again, not too tight because it needs to spin. Don't forget that. To lower a bucket, I found some string and screwed it to the dowel and wrapped it around before cutting. So while someone's on the hunt for a bucket, I sanded the top smooth with a belt sander. For some finishing touches, I nailed some roof trim with scalped edges done on the bandsaw and decorative pieces to cover the mitre join. And stained with a wood preserve. And I'd be interested to know, what would you use this in your garden for? Anyway, apart from that, I'm pretty pleased how it turned out. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave a little like and subscribe. Bye. Yeah, obviously need a better bucket.